All right, so this was a really interesting challenge to solve. So what we built out the site, we got the all of the Shopify stuff built, and then we needed to import the data. And when the data showed up, it was from a bunch of different sources, which means it wasn't all consistent. And the other problem is the way that the folder structure was set up. All of the images that came in, they were in subfolders. So they were a folder and then they had the image in it below it, which is difficult because if you were going to go and upload these manually, you have to click through each one to go and upload it. A lot of labor. So I'm going to walk you through what we did in order to fix this problem. And this is using some techniques that we've honed over a number of years. But essentially, this is how we were able to take what was data that was not consistent and make it consistent so that we can import it relatively quickly and not spend a whole bunch of labor on it. So the first thing we needed to do is we needed to get all of the images into a single directory. The reason we needed to do that is because we wanted to make sure that we could access those images on a web platform. So we wanted to go and upload them to a web platform. The issue with that is when it was all sent to us from the company, it had like PDFs in there and it had all of the information that pertained to that particular product in that subfolder. So we had to separate out the images. And the way we did that is we used a smart folder on Mac. So we went and we created a new smart folder. We asked the smart folder to go and grab us all of the images within this folder. And it went through and it pulled in all of the images, which allowed us to be able to upload those directly to an FTP server. So then what we ended up doing is we created an FTP server. So this is the FTP server that we created. Let me just, connection closed here. Let's just reconnect. Sure. There we go. We were able to then go and upload them all directly to the server. Now, the reason we did that is so that we could go online and we could go to a temporary URL and pull down that image. And I'll get to why we use that in a little bit. But once we got all the images on a smart directory and we got those set up on a live server, now we could access them from Shopify without having to click and upload them locally from our computer. So that was the first thing we did. So we made them available all on the web. The next thing we needed to do is we needed to reformat the CSV. And the reason we needed to format the CSV is because we needed to auto-generate the URLs for that particular product. Now, if we have a look at this, we can see it had the style code in here, and it also had the variant code in here, which was helpful because if we look at our spreadsheet that was sent to us, we can see we had the style code and we had the color, not variant. So we had the style code and the color, and we also had the size. So what we could do is we could write a concatenate script, which took both the style, the color, and the size, put it together, and then separated it by these dashes, which matched. Actually, this wasn't dashes. These should have been underscores. Let me just change that to underscores. I rebuilt this for the demo. Anyway, so if we go in here, we can see that this is how they were set up. They were name, Swift, and number. Then what we could do is we could very easily go and auto-fill this down, and we would get everything we needed in there. Now, the next thing we needed to do is we needed to create a URL so that we could web access these. So what we did is we went URL here, URL, and then we added where our public URL was. So if we go here, we go add our public URL in here, and I'll show you how we did that concatenate script. So we've got, let's move my thing out of the way. Okay, so we've now got the base URL where the images are sitting, and now we need to add the image that we've now uploaded to this so that we have a single URL. So what we did is we went concatenate, and then we grabbed the beginning URL, and then we added to the variant. But we couldn't stop there because we needed to make sure that we knew that it was the file type. So we wanted to add .jpeg to it. Great. And so now what this has done is now this has given us a web accessible file that if we go to it, we should be able to get the image that shows up. Okay, and if I paste that in here, great, we get to the image. So it's live on the web. Perfect. So that's how we were able to get the images. And then we could go and first autofill this down, and then autofill this one down. And then this became our image source. So when we went and did our import into Shopify, we told Shopify, this is where you're going to get the image from. And so what Shopify will do is go off to that URL, it will grab that image, it'll import it into the CSV, and then it will attach it to the SKU, which we have programmed here. So this is going to be the actual SKU of the product that we want to attach the image to. So that's how we sorted out the image problem. Now, let's go back to our jam here. So first we grabbed all the images, we put it into a single directory using a smart folder on a Mac. Then we made all of the images available through the web. So we set it up on an FTP that had a web accessible URL. Then we reformatted the CSV so that it could handle the SKUs and the location. Then we used the concatenate function to write the base URL. And then we used the import to take you from that and put that into Shopify. Now, we didn't use the built-in Shopify import CSV, which you can totally do. It's not a problem. We actually used a different app called Matrixify, which gives you a little bit more control over how you're going to import it. The other big difference with that is when you're using the CSV import from Shopify, it deprioritizes it as a non-vital task, meaning that if Shopify gets hit with a bunch of traffic during your import will get deprioritized. However, if you're using an app like Matrixify, it goes through a different door. It goes through the API door, which always remains high priority. And so what can happen is you can plan out your whole import. You got everything ready. You're going to go and import it. The night before you go in to import it, you go and import it. And for some reason, it starts taking 5 or 6 hours, which totally blows your time budget. And it's because Shopify has deprioritized imports over other traffic that's happening on their network. So you want to make sure that you're using an app, which is the Matrixify app that we used, in order to make sure that that stuff goes in a time limit that you have already planned for. I can't tell you the number of times we've gone to try and do an import using the built-in Shopify CSV, and the thing has just slowed for days, and it has totally screwed up the launch. So you want to make sure that you're using an app that uses the API that has predictable timing on it so that you can make sure that your imports go in when you need them to. All right, that's a quick overview of what we put together here for that online golf brand. Really, really fun project. Super happy with the way it turned out. And because we were able to organize everything launched right on schedule.